Boom, beedum, beedum, ba boom, ba da da ba bee da bee, ba da ba bee da bee. Welcome to the Identity Human podcast. As you can tell, we're constantly evolving. That was a favorite childhood jingle jangle of mine. If you can guess the tune of the episode, you understand that we shared the same childhood. So I'm going to do it again. Welcome to the Identity Human podcast with Don. So here it goes. Okay, so that's a clue to my childhood and what I used to watch. But more to the point, welcome back to, oh my goodness gracious me, the Identity Human Podcast, episode number 16, guys. We are 10 away from that magical 26 that we're aiming for. And we're still on the journey of creating the world's most popular unproduced podcast. And that is a good measurable, isn't it? So I am desperate to try and get enough headspace to organize a guest in advance, because I do realize now we've done a few episodes on my own, and there's as much as I can create some good content. I think that the whole point of Identity Human isn't like Identity Don Human. The point is to let's chat to as many different people as we can and hear their stories. And it's like, is it failures? Is it successes? Is it what can we really learn? So some of the things that have come out this week, there's not going to be a general thing tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about Viktor Frankls' Man's Search for Meaning and some of the things that stuck out for me from that book and things that help me now. If you haven't read it, I'd highly suggest reading it. It's got so many. It's like it doesn't matter what you're going through. Go and listen to his book, and he will give you some empowerment. Like I am so desperate, not desperate because we can't use the word desperate. Desperate. I am so passionate about empowering people's mindsets, and this one really helped in terms of giving really good perspective. But I'll get onto that. So first of all, I just wanted to say, how are you? How are you doing? If you're listening to this, if you were sitting opposite me, I want you to answer that for yourself. Like, how are you doing? Are you seeing the best in yourself? Are you giving yourself a bit of credit or a lot of credit for the little things that you've been doing well? You're still here. You've taken the time to listen to this. That just shows that there's something in you that wants to go, this is what I'm going to do. I like the name Identity Human. I'm going to listen to Don, not because it's Don, but because of some of the stuff that he's saying. And he's going to hopefully pass on some good nuggets to me, and something's going to stick out. So obviously different things mean different bits to us and give us power as we go at different stages of our journeys in our lives. Some things loop back in and they remind us, well, oh yeah, that was powerful. So some of the things that have really stuck out to me today and maybe yesterday, I think I may put it on Instagram, is no one's coming to save you. And that for me, I think you got to work on that, because when you first see it, it's quite a big concept, isn't it? It's like, what do you mean no one's coming to save me? Like we're here, we've got people, we're lining up, but actually, if you can stop looking around and going, oh, they've done this, they haven't done this, so-and-so is not, so-and-so is this, there's this going on. And you go, they're not coming to save you. That's life, right? If you could do that, it takes you into okay, what can I do? What is the thing? And it stops you from wondering about things that are out of your control. And I really love that, because it's like, how can we take action to be able to take us somewhere other than where we currently are? Because that's where we want to be. There's an urge in us that wants to move forward. And the other thing is just, what did I say this morning? I'm trying to think about it. Obviously, it's not important enough. Oh, it is 100% important, because currently training for London Marathon and a few things going on. And it's about when you think about the outcome and it's positive, remember, that's really easy to do stuff. But when you are constantly focused on the outcome, it means that when the outcome might be something that requires you something hard, it's like, ooh, there's some resistance that come up. So what I'm talking about is trying to can we learn to love the process? Can we learn to love if I start my run tonight or this afternoon, that's going to be hard, and I look forward to that, because I know that every step I take can take me one step closer. So instead of focusing on the big elephant, i.e. the outcome, we focus on just a little bit, what's that elephant's trunk like? What's the tusks like? And you break it down bit by bit. It makes you really curious, and it makes you really enjoy the process a little bit more. And I may have said this in earlier episodes, but we're going to be repeating a lot of things as we go. And the one thing I want to repeat here is the world will celebrate the outcomes, but they will not. I mean, yeah, they will celebrate the outcomes, but not the process. And that's why it's really hard. As you share in your journey, you might be on a journey towards an outcome, but people will look at where you are in your journey and they will think that that's the outcome, or they'll judge that. And if you listen to them, they can really disempower you. And so it is understanding like there's a process that you're going through to get to wherever it is you want to be. And very few people are going to understand where you want to be. But the ones that do, they're the ones that eyes light up when they see like, oh wow, that's your journey. Wow, that, and they can truly support you because they recognize that where you are is not where you're going to be. So where you are, it's like whatever mistakes, whatever shortcomings, whatever it is you want to where you want to be in the future, you're not there now, and that's brilliant because they can wholeheartedly support something that you want to be. And I think it's let's flip that, and it's not just other people doing that towards us, but are you doing that for the people around you? So are you looking at others and going, wow, look at where you're at, like truly being able to support them and seeing the best in them, because that's what people need. People need you to believe in them more than they can believe in themselves, because everyone is starting to be really hard on themselves because they are taking in the feedback from those that celebrate the outcome and going, well, your outcome doesn't look that great, so you need to do better. And then we go and become self-critical. So can you be that person that looks towards others and just goes, you're incredible. Like, look at what you're achieving. How have you done this? Because that's going to spur them on more than anything that you could imagine. And it's just by filling them with a feeling of belief, a feeling of, so the analogy I'd use here is if you're parenting, they say that a way more effective way of complimenting your kids is compliment them towards someone else while they're around because the kids are listening. So like, me and my wife, we'll do this and it's like, oh, did you see Miles did this? And he's right there, he's in the room. But he takes that on a lot more because we're talking about him and he can observe than if I said to Miles, Miles, you know that you did this and that's great, because it doesn't mean anything to him. But because it's separating from who he is to me saying this is how Miles did, he can then truly see how good it is. So if we talk, I was going to talk about communication tonight, but I might just I'll move that to next week. When you're complimenting someone, you've got to compliment them about how what they've done makes you feel. So when you compliment a kid and you're saying, oh, that's amazing, you've done really well, that's a positive judgment, right? So it's still based in judgment. What they like the technical thing you should do is like, wow, do you know that when you made that card for me, it made me feel really special inside. It made me feel really loved. Because you're telling them how something that they did made you feel, and they can relate to that a lot more. Anyway, I'm not talking about communication tonight. What we are talking about is man's search for meaning and why is that important. So Viktor Frankl, the whole book is about, he was logotherapy was his thing. Like, so he's a psychologist or a psychotherapist. And so he is interested in how the mind works. He's interested in people's journeys. And this is why it's so interesting is he then lived through going to the, World War II, where he was in the camps, the gas chambers and all that. He obviously didn't get gassed, but he kept a journal, lost that journal. And his whole thing is he's talking about purpose and how important it is. And sometimes we think our purpose has got to be this huge thing that everyone needs to tap into because that's going to be that massive inspirational thing. But his purpose, and I watched the summary just to refresh myself, his purpose was that he knew that whatever he was going through now, i.e. when he was in the camps, he could give lectures on when he was out. And that gave him a purpose. That gave him something to live for. That gave him something to look into so that he could endure whatever it was he was going through. And I thought, like, do you know what? That's so important. Like, how often do we walk around and actually do we know our purpose? And it doesn't have to be changing the world, but what is that thing that's driving you so that every action, everything that you see in your day to day is feeding you so you can go, this makes my purpose better. This makes my purpose better. And it also allows you to really go, actually, this action, this thing that I'm trying to do doesn't feed my purpose. Therefore, I'm not going to do it. So I often will say, like, how aligned are we with ourselves? How aligned are we with the things that make us feel good? How aligned are we with when someone else comes to us and makes us do something that isn't in line with us? Do you have the mental fortitude, the strong enough identity to go, yep, I'm not going to do that. Um, and knowing that that's okay, I suppose that's the next thing is like, it's okay to not do that for people, because we're not here to make sure everyone else is happy, and we're not. We're here to find the balance between the two. So I did look at some of my notes, and I want to read through my notes because I think they're quite important. Again, it's like having a conversation with myself, and I can reflect on them rather than just be here and teaching you guys, because I think there'll be a few of us that are going through different things in life, and hopefully one of these will stick. So I written in big red letters mental hygiene. So he talks about mental hygiene. It's like, that's quite a good way of framing, like, keep your mind clean, keep your thoughts clean, and how do you make sure that you're constantly working on that to keep it clean, because it's going to get dirty, i.e. there's going to be thoughts that come in there that you don't necessarily like, that aren't helpful. And how do we make sure that our mental hygiene is kept strong and kept going? Um, Everything great is just as difficult to realize as it is to find. And this is, I think he ties this into like happiness, like people chase happiness, but he's like, it's difficult to realize, and it is difficult to find. So people search for happiness because they're trying to find it. But he said it's just as difficult, and think about it, just as difficult to realize that. So how do you realize that you're happy? Sometimes what you're looking for is right in front of you, but you can't see it, and because it is difficult, and we need to go through things, we need to really think about, where's our focus, what are our thoughts on, and so that we are able to recognize these things, and we're able to find it. And I mean, I've listened to a few things, and had a few thoughts around happiness, and it's like, happiness is, and you've heard this before, and the definition that sits easiest is, it's not something that you can find. I think it's something that follows when you're pursuing your purpose, because happiness will always join you on your journey. But if you're looking for happiness, that's always going to be just around the next corner, just around the corner, just around the corner. And you're never going to accept that you actually might be already happy. And we've got to be able to do less to be able to recognize it to come to us. Anyway, I'm going off topic here. So some of the things he said, the world is in a bad space, but we each need to play our own part. And I think that one is so, like, why did that one stick out to me? Is like, we can look at everything that's going on and be like, wow, why do I put in the effort to be a better person? Why do I put in the effort to see the best in others? Why do I put in the effort to make someone else's day better? Imagine everyone thought, why should I bother? We're just here for ourselves. Why should I bother? It's just, nothing's going to work. We would be in a way worse space. But we need more and more people to go, actually, the world's in a bad space, and I count. Like, the world's in a bad space, but just me greeting someone at the shopping teller, just me going, hey, how are you? Just me looking, so like looking at the petrol attendant's name badge and saying, hey, how are you, Sam? How are you doing? Try it and watch how it makes a difference in the littlest ways. If the world is in a bad space, if you truly think that, then make it in a better space, one thing at a time, and realize that you actually have the power. You actually have the ability to make a difference. Because if 1 billion people just did a nice greeting once a day, you'd have 1 billion positive differences. And we need to be able to spread that message and pass it on. So like the butterfly effect, the ripple effect. And I really like that. Is like what he says there is you count. Like what you're doing right now counts, even though you can't see the massive difference, like the positive difference that makes overall. A lot of little things add up. He also goes, like a note that I wrote here is like, the meaning in life comes through experience. And I really like that, because we can read a lot of books and we can know a lot of things. But actually what I'm really coming to recognize is the experiences give you a lot more understanding than you give them credit for. And it's like, well, Don, I'm listening to your podcast and I haven't had a very exciting life. I haven't gone through much exciting things. I haven't, these big things don't really teach me anything. It's like, well, hang on. What I've recognized is the structures of things don't change. So if you've listened to the other episodes that we've talked about here, it's like the structures are all the same. It's just the details that might change. So any experience that you've had in your life, you can gain meaning from if you know where to look for it. And they're difficult to realize and is hard to find. So you're not going to force yourself to go through something traumatic, but actually sometimes it doesn't have to be traumatic to you to be an experience. So I look back and like, well, how does this relate? And it's like, well, actually, I've moved country 3 times. So, that's not necessarily a traumatic experience, because sometimes it was out of choice, sometimes it wasn't. But that's still given me really good experience around cultural identity, around personal identity, around fitting in, around social norms. There's so many, and that could be the same as moving school. Like that's as an experience. So you've got to recognize that your life is full of experiences that's going to help you find a meaning in life. So you've got to be able to tie together. And I know I've probably got, that sentence might have been said in a different context in the book, but again, I'm taking out what I've written there and my current interpretation of it. He also talks about the meaning of love. It's like, what does that actually mean? What does it mean to love someone? And I think he goes and says it's about being able to see someone's essence. And I really like that because in our profiling, we say, like, what's your gift? We've each been put in this world with a gift. And if you're enacting that gift out, you're aligning with your purpose, you're aligning with the thing that feeds your energy. And essentially, what your gift is your essence. So, like, what is your essence that you have an endless supply of that you can give to others? And if you can see other people's essence, you will bring the best out of them because you're going, I see your essence. I want you to give that to me. I want you to give that to the world. And when people can give their essence because you brought it out in them, that's when we're communicating on love because it's such a good, positive, flowing energy. So the only takeaway from that is, can you see other people's essences, i.e., can you see the best in others? So I mentioned that a couple of minutes ago. It's like, how can you see the best in someone's efforts? How can you stay above the line? So we think about above the line, below the line. How can you go, let's be open, let's be creative, let's be friendly, let's make sure that I am doing what I can to get the best out of this person? And you realize things start to change if you can interact with people like that. So for all of you that are parents, or if you've got a spouse or a partner or friends, try and greet them like you were a dog every time they walk in the room and watch how it changes their mood. Watch their body language. Like, just assess their body language and see what that difference in energy does. Because what you're doing is you're saying their essence walks into the room and you're going, wow, hey, nice to see you. That's awesome. Immediately they go, this person makes me feel really good about myself and I don't really know why. And you do that over and over again. Watch how it changes around you. Now, I also wrote here, it's leadership equals love. In order to love, we must see people's essence and treat them by their essence. So we need to see the best in people. So I've just spoken about that. Now, obviously, I've got the leadership business on the side, or not on the side, I've got the leadership business that I do. And the one thing that always has the most effect is when I'm coaching people, when I'm standing in room, is like, I just happen to seeing the best of the people in the room. And that makes a difference to them because the world has a way of beating you down unless you're able to stand up for it. So how can we make sure that everywhere we go, we're helping lead people? We're leading by helping them see their essence because we can see it easier than that. We don't have their excuses, their mind blocks, all that kind of thing. So let's just make sure that we keep pushing that. So we're going to repeat a few things as I go through here. Another example that comes out of the book is around death. So, like, he swaps it around. So he uses not logotherapy, but he almost changes the perspective. And the example was, you have to live with sadness. They died and they don't have to deal with your loss. So the example he lives, and in the summary, it was a husband that had lost his wife, but I swear it was a wife. It was a female character that had lost either a son or a husband and just couldn't get through it. But anyway, let's just say, for example, it was the husband, and the husband had lost his wife and he couldn't get over the sadness. So he went through a couple of years. He's just like gone to different therapists. He couldn't get past it. And in the example, he swapped that round. And so he said, let's say you had died and your wife had lived, and she had to live with the pain and suffering of your loss. So she would have to go through what you're going through now. You have been given the privilege of dealing with that pain. Would you prefer her to have been in your position? And the husband immediately changed the way that he saw things because he saw it as a privilege that he got the burden of living with the sadness. He got the burden of living with that rather than the other way around because he knew how hard it was. And he loved her so much that he couldn't think about her going through the pain that he was. So it changed. So he had a purpose. He was like, my purpose was to take this pain and the sorrow so that my partner didn't have to. And I'm grateful for that. And that's just a really good way of changing perspective. So that's what he was really good at in terms of his logotherapy and doing things slightly unconventionally, but he really tapped into the mind. And it was because of the experience that he had going through the prison camp. I know that there's a word for it. The Holocaust. I know that the big Holocaust, but because he went through that and he went through the gas chambers, he saw people dying, he saw people making it through, and what was the difference. And that experience that he had gave him a deeper understanding than any psychological testing textbook could ever give him. And so it allowed him to critically think, it allowed him to get some knowledge, but allowed him to also have the experience and combine the two. So it's almost the word I've got here written in red. It's like suffer bravely. Like, yes, you're suffering. You can't get away from the fact you've got pain, but how can you do it bravely? So how can we change that? How can we change that to be a privilege? Because you're not going to be able to take that away. So how do you empower it? And then the last thing I've got here is like the meaning in life. You said love or experiencing something in life, mostly through other people or from other people, i.e. influence. So he said like suffering, achievement, or accomplishment. So you can find, oh yes, this was it. He said you can find meaning in life through love or experiencing something in life, mostly through other people, mostly other people. So the influence, so those experiences with other people and how they make you feel. Or you find meaning in life through suffering, or you find meaning in life through achievement or accomplishment. And so it's like, which one have you got at your disposal right now? Which one have you gone through? Which one have you got in your armory that you haven't recognized? And that's where you can find your meaning. And I think that's like a quick summary. There's so much that we could go into, but I didn't want to make tonight a long one. I just wanted to talk on some of these things, because if you're struggling with meaning at the moment and you're struggling with purpose, that understand it's more important than you think. And it doesn't have to be some big traumatic or some global massive difference purpose. It's just got to be something that you can direct your mind to. So how can we structure our mindset into performing outcome? We have to go, well, let's identify, so structure up our purpose. What does that look like? Is your purpose just to help people? Is your purpose to make someone's life better? Well, how are you going to do that? So we're constantly looking into finding meaning in love, finding meaning in suffering, finding meaning in experience. All of those things that have something to give you if you're willing to find it. So it's let's just find that perspective. Now, I know that there wasn't as great a flow there, and I tried to keep it a bit more chilled. We probably did about 12 minutes of Don going to like flow lecture mode, and I'm really like, if you stayed with me this long, I really appreciate it. But I hope that there's something in those few, bullet points, the 5 different topics, not topics necessarily, but 5 little thought provokers that I've spoken about. They're going to help you in some way. Like I said, I know that everyone's on their own journey at different times, and so this might not mean anything to you right now, but if you listen to it again in 6 months' time, you might be going through something that's going to help. So let's keep our mindsets empowered. Let's make sure that we're giving our best version of ourselves to others. And I think this is where I'd make that, like, in order to give the best version of yourself to other people, you have to be able to know what the best version of you is. You have to focus on that every day and making sure that you are focusing on yourself, and that's not selfish, because the better you can be, the better you can be for others, the better you can be for others, the better they can be for you. And that's now we're going to sign off with an Ubuntu. We are who we are through others. I will focus on me for you, and you focus on you for me. Okay, let's make sure that we're keeping each other in check. We're rising each other up. We're growing together, because that's really important, right? From a bigger perspective, a micro perspective, however you want to look at it. So thanks again for listening. I really appreciate you guys. And we'll catch you at episode 17 if you're still following along. If you liked something here, send it on to someone that it can make a difference to. I really appreciate you following the journey. There's lots to come, lots of developing of these concepts to be done, and we'll revisit them. That repetition will help you learn. And I appreciate you. Have a great day.